Hey, what up, y'all? Mr. Cruz here, the hardest worker in the room, back with another video. And in today's video, we're going to start a brand new series where I'm going to show you guys how to cook up a trap beat from scratch. Let's go. So for this series, what I want to do is I want to show you guys how you can cook up a trap beat from scratch and pretty much use a lot of shortcuts that I use to make my beats that is probably going to help you guys to not only cut down on your time making beats, but also make your beats better. So if you're trying to get your beats to stop sounding like wet noodles, you came to the right place. Now, I typically like to start my beats with my melodies or with my loops. So there's three different ways that I usually cook up beats when it comes to melodies or loops. In this video specifically, I'm going to teach you two ways on how to do it and how you can do it real quick. Now in Bandlab, you have this little feature down here. So Bandlab sounds, and if you go to loops, you have a ton of different loops that pretty much everybody who has access to Bandlab has access to. So I think it's like what, 30 million users that Bandlab has. So all 30 million users are more than likely using these exact same loops in their beats as well. But you want to stand out. You want to be different. You want to be weird. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a loop, but we're not going to use a loop from Bandlab. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to go to my loop kit, which is free, by the way. And we're going to pick a loop from here that we're going to be able to use to start our beat with. All right, so I'm going to do this one, and I'm going to show you guys how you can use loops from like things that you download online, or if you have a subscription to like Splice or something. I'm going to show you guys how you can use those loops the right way so that your beats don't end up sounding trash and like pretty much falling apart. So I see here that my loop is labeled with the name, the key, and the BPM. So here's what I'm going to do first, because this is usually how I like to do things, is I'm going to drag the loop in and I'm just going to take a listen to it to see how it sounds. So let's say that one sounded like a hot circle of garbage. So I'm going to go back to the one that I had recently, and that was Twisted. Okay, so take a note of the key and the BPM. What I want to do first, so that I don't end up looking and sounding like an idiot when I try to play my beats in front of my friends, is I want to change the project settings to match the key and match the BPM. All right, so it's F major and it's 147. All right, so I'm going to just double click it and type in 147. Boom. So the reason why I want to do that is because I want to, if I use any other loops that Bandlab already has inside of the Bandlab kind of database, this is going to make sure that those loops are also set to the same key and they're also set to the same BPM, so that way they sound better together. So now that I got that set, I'm going to go ahead and drag this in here, and what you will probably see, if we can zoom out a little bit, is that it'll usually line up a lot more better, more perfectly. So you can see here that this seems right about the area right there where that loop should be ending. Bam, you see how it loops perfectly? That's because the BPM is set right. With my loops specifically, one of the things that I do is I kind of break up the elements in one single audio file. So here you have all the elements together. Over here you'll have, I think it's just the bass that we kind of hear in that loop. Let's see. And then over here should be that kind of like funky guitar sounding. All right, so the reason that I personally do that is because let's say you really like the guitar element, but you don't like the bass. So now you kind of have the freedom to just use the guitar part, but not the bass. You know what I'm saying? But for this example, I like everything that I have in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag my cursor over here and then I'm going to split it because I don't want to use anything else that's there. And then we can delete there. And boom, I'm ready to get started on laying down some drums because I've got a really dope melody, a really dope loop that I can start out with. Okay, so that's way number one. Way number two is using something called a MIDI file. Now what a MIDI file is this super overly complicated way that musicians use computers to be able to trigger signals and trigger notes in other programs. So for example, I primarily make beats in a program called FL Studio. I can't share files in FL Studio with other producers unless their program is compatible with the files that I use. So somewhere along the lines, some geniuses came up with something called MIDI files, and these MIDI files allow you as a producer to use files that I have created to make your music. So what we're going to need for this is we're going to need to create an instrument track. Let's go to right here with instrument, and let's say I'm going to change the instrument. Yeah, let's keep pianos, but let's go with a lo-fi piano. All right, so let's start there. So I also have a free MIDI kit that you can also download on my website, which I'll leave a link in the description below for that. So let's pick one of these here, and let's go with this one, Deeply Rooted. So one thing that you don't have to worry about with MIDI files that you usually have to worry about with loop files and whatnot is that you don't have to set the BPM, because with MIDI files that BPM or that tempo information is already embedded inside of the MIDI file. So when you drag and drop it, you're not going to have to change anything. You can speed it up, you can slow it down, you can do whatever you want. The other benefit to using MIDI files is, as you notice, like when I drag this in, you see that it has all the notes already in there, right? It shows me all the notes. So let's say in that previous loop that I had showed you with like the funky guitar thing, let's say you liked that melody, but you didn't like that it's a guitar sound. Let's say you wanted a bell sound or some synth keyboard type sound. A MIDI file will allow you to use that melody, like it pretty much gives you the notes that were played, and now you have a lot more freedom and you have, you know, more flexibility than a lifelong gymnast. I can now, because I use the MIDI file, I can change the notes. I can move them up, I can move them down, I can delete these right here. I can do a whole lot more things that I couldn't do with just a regular loop file. So me personally, I love working with MIDI files more, but not a whole lot of other people do, and so seems a little bit intimidating. But one thing that I do want to do is I want to also go back here and I want to take a look at the key that it's in. Now I can change the tempo. I'm not going to change the tempo. I'm going to leave the tempo in my project the way that it is. But I'm going to make sure that I set the key, so D minor. So let's take a listen to this MIDI file that we have in here with our piano patch. All right, so one thing I kind of noticed is it seems like there's a note that was not hit in the beginning. So let's see. There it goes. All right, so I just kind of had to move it a little bit. All right, but there you go. So let's say I really like that melody, but I don't like the sound that I picked. So I picked what was a lo-fi synth or a lo-fi piano. So let's go with Rhodes. All right, so I actually like that electric piano the most. All right, so we're gonna keep that. So as a matter of fact, I like this so much, this is what we're gonna use to start our beat out. So again, that's two different methods that you can use to start making your beat. The way that I make my beats is, you know, using a MIDI file or using a loop, usually one that I found from a friend, or something that I kind of created and then just kind of stored away for a rainy day. And then of course, in the beginning, I said that there's 3 different ways you can create your own melody. So for example, in this case, right, I created this melody, I made this, I didn't necessarily play it. I kind of draw my notes in for the most part, but I created this pattern that we're now using to make our melody with. I'll say this, if I had it to do all over again, I would have started out with using loops and MIDI packs a lot more often, because I feel like using MIDI packs and using loops challenged me a lot more to learn music theory, and being good and understanding music theory really helped me to be a better musician in the long run. And it would have saved me many years and many nights of frustration from trying to make a melody myself and then just not being able to get there. Make sure to check in for part 2, where we're going to start laying down our drums, and I'll show you guys how I start laying down drums when I'm making a trap beat. Again, if you guys are interested and you want to get some of these free resources that I'm talking about in here, make sure to hit the link in the description. I'm going to leave you a link to my free MIDI packs, my free loop kit, and I also have a premium MIDI kit that has like 30 different MIDI files. That's 30 different melodies and chord progressions that you guys can use to manipulate and change things around and make it all your own. Also, a big part of this, a big part of making music is being able to get this music into the hands of people who can do something with it. Me personally, I use a platform called BeatStars. I've been a BeatStars Pro member for about 3 years now. I love it. They create a lot of great opportunities for you not to just put your music out there and to get chances to land placements with up-and-coming independent artists, but they also provide tons and tons of resources for you as musicians to be able to grow, whether it comes to marketing, mixing, mastering, networking. Lot of great things. They're not just a platform for you to upload your beats and sell your beats to people, but it's really a community of like-minded producers and musicians who are banding together to all accomplish the same mission of turning their passions into a profit. So if you want to join me over on BeatStars, there's a link in the description with a code that you guys can use, and I'm going to hook you up with a discount for your first month when you sign up for BeatStars. Also, if you do use that code and you sign up for BeatStars, reach out to me personally, and I'm going to give you a complimentary one-on-one consultation, brand consultation, where I kind of teach you everything that I have learned in the past several years when it's come to marketing, networking, and kind of connecting and building with artists. Well, that's what I got for you guys. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for part 2. It's your boy, Mr. Cruz, out.